team members immediately began attacking in all directions to test the barrier. Bullets, supernatural powers, and even fists were used. However, no matter how they attacked, the transparent barrier did not change in any way. It was not very powerful, nor could it reflect the Tengu members' attacks. It just absorbed all attacks like an ocean. Kanuta saw that no one had paid any attention to him and shrugged helplessly. "You guys are really rude. You don't even know the basics of being polite." He extended his right index finger towards the crowd. "But I can tell you, don't waste your energy. As long as you enter this cage, no matter what you do, you can't escape. Right now, you are all caged birds." Among the pirate group, there was a mutant named Chinsiyu. In his line of sight, the huge space where Zhang Yi and the others were located was a huge cubic cage. His ability is called Drawing a Prison. It is like the trap used by a bird catcher, where the cage is set up in advance to lock in a specific area. Once anyone enters, the trap is triggered and the cage is fully activated. No prey that enters can escape. However, in order to maintain the cage, he himself cannot move. Once his body moves, or if he himself dies, the trap will be released. This is the rule of his ability. Knut's smile quickly disappeared from his face, and with a wave of his right hand, he said, "Kill them." Upon hearing this, thousands of pirates laughed maniacally and pulled the triggers on their guns. From all directions, countless lines of fire formed by bullets shot towards the cage. "Defend!" Zhang Yi shouted. His Two Realms Junction was the first to activate, protecting himself, Liang Yu, Flower, and Yang Xinqin. There was no choice. The range of Two Realms Junction could only extend 1 meter, and he was invincible within a 1-meter radius, but he could not protect anyone beyond that. Fortunately, for everyone, these bullets did not pose a great threat. So everyone used their own skills to defend against the barrage of bullets. This is not right. Our attacks cannot get through, but they can attack us within this area. Is the siege ability used by the other party one way? Bai Li Changqing shouted as he used his halberd to block the bullets. Zhang Yi, however, was not in the least bit worried. Although he was in a cage, as long as his other dimensional space could be used, he would remain invincible. At this moment, one of the mutants among the pirates jumped out. He raised his hands high, and the humongous rock on the ground shot up into the sky, before condensing into a giant rock with a diameter of tens of meters in his hands. Under his control, the giant rock smashed towards everyone like a cannonball. Bai Li Changqing was about to go forward to block it. But Zhang Yi thought if the rock shattered, their room to move would be greatly restricted. Even if they had great abilities, they would find it difficult to exert their full strength. "Let me do it." Zhang Yi persuaded Bai Li Changqing to step aside. "Liang Yu, Flower, protect my surroundings," Zhang Yi said, and released his Two Realms Junction ability. The dimensional gate blocked the way of the approaching huge crater. The giant ice rock fell silently, and directly sank into Zhang Yi's dimensional space. Kanuta frowned. "Come on, is this the person Phoenix Ren told me to kill?" Just as the intelligence said, his defense ability is indeed something. However, as long as you cannot leave this prison, sooner or later I will wear you down, and kill you. Among the pirates, many had already brought out shoulders-mounted cannons and rocket launchers. Even if they were mutants, sooner or later their supernatural powers would be exhausted. By then, their flesh and blood would also be mercilessly destroyed by the firearms. For the Sky Dragon pirates, this was a long siege, and they had plenty of patience. However, Zhang Yi opened two-dimensional gates and instantly neutralized the attacks from the heaviest firepower in both directions. The dimensional gate has a limited capacity to absorb energy, but an attack of this magnitude would require an entire military base to be emptied in order to reach its upper limit. But at this moment, Zhang Yi had a sudden idea. External attacks can break through the barrier of the prison, but their attacks cannot be launched out. What is the basis for determining the boundary? After thinking about this, Zhang Yi made a bold attempt. He raised his hand and used the dimensional gate to collect a large amount of ammunition. Then he aimed at the pirates outside and reflected it back. Shoo! 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 The bullets flew back the way they came. The pirates didn't have battle suits on, and dozens of them were instantly shot to pieces. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up, and a smile rose up at the corners of his mouth. I know what's going on in this prison. Drawing a prison was a rule-based ability. Zhang Yi had learned its rules through his own experiments. And that was, once an enemy entered the prison while it was still being created, a person could no longer leave within the confines of the prison. On the other hand, objects that were not inside during its formation were not affected by the rules. For example, Zhang Yi and the others were unable to shoot bullets through the cage. However, the bullets shot by the pirates from the outside world were unaffected and could even ricochet it back. Bai Li Changqing and the others had also realized this rule. But the problem was that they still couldn't figure out how to get out from here. In case the other party stopped attacking and just spent time with them here, or changed their means of attack, then what should they do? Kanuta was thinking the same thing. After seeing that Zhang Yi could rebound bullets, he immediately gave an order for all the pirates to stop shooting. While all of them stopped, Zhang Yi would never stop. Zhang Yi's face revealed a promising smile as he swept his gaze over all the pirates at the scene. The mutant who had cast a supernatural ability to surround them must be among them. As long as that mutant was killed, this cage would also disappear immediately when it lost its source of power. Make some space for me. On the count of 3, everyone crouched down. The crowd did not understand what Zhang Yi wanted to do, but Zhang Yi was the captain, so they still had to follow the order. 1. Zhang Yi opened his dimensional gate. 2. In the middle of the dimensional gate, a thick gun barrel was revealed. 3. Everyone immediately crouched their bodies. And around Zhang Yi, within the huge space, the muzzles of 500 doors of artillery guns were suddenly spread out from dimensional space. These were the large quantity of weapons that Zhang Yi, as the captain of Tengu Squad, had asked Blizzard City for with his own authority. The weapons that were bulky and difficult to carry for ordinary mutants. The weapons that possessed great power but were slowly being eliminated due to the onset of the Ice Age. In his hands, they were still powerful. The 500 artillery guns had long been loaded by Zhang Yi and were in a state ready to be activated at any time. Weapons nowadays could be connected to intelligent systems and did not need to be operated manually. Zhang Yi just utilized the intelligent operating system of his combat suit to give the order, and in a flash, the 500 doors let out a deafening roar, firing at all the pirates in all directions. Such a scene could not be imagined by anyone. A single person was able to transform into a giant turret in an instant. Those pirates were too confident, so they were less than 200 meters away from Zhang Yi's cage. A round of unison fire from 500 artillery pieces was simply like a firecracker blowing up cow dung, exploding in all directions. Only what was flying all over the sky were their shattered bodies, which were really as colorful as fireworks. During the first moment when the artillery appeared, Kanuta and the other mutants had already reacted. Canute's body rapidly giganticized, and his clothes were all shredded by his bulging skin. His skin began to turn a grayish-blue color, the texture of his skin was like a knife, and the corners of his mouth grinned to the back of his ears. In an instant, he turned into a giant gray-blue shark that was over 10 meters long. The huge body sprawled across the ground, yet it was as nimble as if it was underwater. His nimble body swept away dozens of cannonballs, saving the lives of several hundred pirates behind him. In every other direction, there were also other mutants powering up. But even so, they couldn't stop the instantaneous 500 cannonballs. In just a split second of effort, half of the more than 1,000 pirates of the 4th Squad were blown up. Zhang Yi sighed in his heart with regret. This kind of cannon fire flurry could only be used once. It was because he could not have time to reload the 500 artillery guns for a second time. However, the effect of this attack was already very considerable. It also verified his suspicions. That was that the objects within his dimensional space were not defined by the rules of drawing a prison. Bai Li Changqing and the others watched Zhang Yi put away the 500 artillery pieces. At this moment, Bai Li Changqing realized why Zhang Yi had asked for so many heavy firearms that seemed like waste in the first place. Yi He and the others looked at Zhang Yi with a look of admiration in their eyes. Worthy of being their captain, he had thought of a way to crack the opponent's ability so quickly. Kanuta looked at his men who had turned into pieces and listened to their wailing in pain. It looked at Zhang Yi with incomparable anger. Damn bastard, I must kill you. Its huge body was half immersed in the mud, and strangely enough, the ice, snow and mud didn't hinder him in any way. But anything that encountered his body would ripple like water. Kanuta stared at Zhang Yi and the others in the middle of the cage. He couldn't wait to attack immediately and kill Zhang Yi and the others. However, when he thought of the abilities Zhang Yi possessed, he did not attack rashly. Zhang Yi's dimensional space could absorb almost any attack and bounce it back. Anger, instead of bringing him victory, would create more mistakes. And Zhang Yi was also pondering on how to break the cage. I just killed so many pirates, yet the cage is still there. That means the ability caster hasn't been killed at all. Zhang Yi's gaze looked towards Canute's huge body. That mutant, he must have been protected by him. Although he could not escape from the middle of the cage for the time being, Zhang Yi was still relatively confident in his heart. There was nothing the other party could do to them. But just at this time, a message alert from Gao Changkong appeared from the hologram inside the watch communicator. Chaos, it's not good. There's a change in the situation, you must rush to round up the pirates. This is most likely a huge trap. Zhang Yi's pupil shrunk violently, and a chill arose in his back. What does this mean? Lin Hai City sighed. Gao Changkong and the members of Reincarnation Squad were standing in the middle of a piece of rubble. In front of them, there were a dozen corpses lying on the ground. And some of them were dressed exactly like the Eclipse Moon troops. The ones that appeared on this side of Lin Hai City are not the real Eclipse Moon troops at all. We were all fooled by them. In Zhang Yi's ears, Gao Changkong's voice kept coming. Think about it, if they don't appear in Lin Hai City, where else could they appear? Who is the one they are most afraid of, the one they want to kill the most? Zhang Yi's eyes widened as that unsettling feeling had enveloped him. His scalp even felt a little numb. The person Eclipse Moon wanted to kill the most was naturally him who could crack Mayumi Takeuchi's prophecy ability. Kanuta cracked open his giant shark's mouth and roared, Ronins! Aren't you guys going to show up yet? Zhang Yi and the others raised their heads to look into the distance, and on top of a short mountain, the faces of a few old acquaintances were revealed. Phoenix Ren, and those mutants of the Eclipse Moon under him, were all present.